There's a reason why some people, even as they age and the world changes faster than their knees or eyesight can keep up with, still walk through life with a calm you can feel from across the room. The world throws everything at them: news that rattles the younger generations, inflation that would make anyone flinch, health scares, even the loss of longtime friends. Yet they carry on with a serenity that feels almost sacred. You might see them at the grocery store, pausing to choose apples while chaos buzzes around them, or at a family dinner, smiling gently as opinions clash like thunder. These people are not lucky. They're not numb. They've mastered something most never do: the ability to remain untouched in a world designed to shake us. Now, science has begun to uncover what philosophers like Carl Jung intuited nearly a century ago. Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Today, neuroscience supports this. Studies at Harvard and Stanford have shown that our brains are prediction machines. They're constantly scanning the environment, trying to keep us safe by recognizing patterns and preparing reactions. But here's the key. The brain doesn't react to reality. It reacts to our perception of reality. That means your mind isn't responding to what is, it's responding to what you believe it is. This is why two people can experience the exact same situation, say, being ignored by a nurse at the doctor's office, and walk away with completely different feelings. One might feel invisible, even insulted. The other shrugs it off as a busy day. The difference is not the event, it's the lens. This is where things get deeply practical. Imagine you're driving on I-95 and someone cuts you off without signaling. Do you slam the horn, curse under your breath, feel your blood pressure rise? Or do you simply slow down and let it pass, understanding that this moment doesn't deserve your peace? For most people, especially in a culture that rewards quick reactions and punishes vulnerability, the first instinct is reactivity. But as we age, and we feel the cost of stress not just in our emotions but in our bodies and our joints, our sleep, our heart, it becomes even more essential to learn how to remain calm inside, even when the world storms outside. Let me share something striking. In a 2018 study published in Frontiers in Psychology, researchers found that older adults who practiced mindful observation, simply learning to witness thoughts and emotions without judgment, showed significantly lower cortisol levels, the body's primary stress hormone. That's not philosophy. That's measurable chemistry in your blood. It means that learning to observe instead of react doesn't just make you feel wiser. It literally protects your health. And yet, even with all this evidence, many still cling to the belief that life is happening to them. That when someone speaks unkindly, they must respond in kind. That when a plan falls apart, it's a sign of failure. That when the world doesn't behave as we wish, we are victims. But what if the opposite is true? What if life is happening through you not to punish you, but to show you where you still hold tension, fear, or unresolved wounds? Jung believed that what irritates us most in others reveals something about ourselves. That's not judgment. That's freedom. Because it means that every upset is also a doorway, a moment to stop, breathe, and ask, what part of me still needs attention? So how do we begin? First, we start by noticing. The next time something upsets you, pause. Before you speak, before you judge, just pause. Ask yourself, what is this really about? This is not avoidance. This is courage. Second, practice what I call emotional anchoring. When you feel a reaction rising, gently place your hand on your chest and ground your attention in your breath. This simple act sends a signal to your nervous system. You are safe. You are in control. Over time, this practice rewires your brain. Your reactions no longer run the show. You do. And third, replace blame with curiosity. Instead of, that nurse was rude, try, what part of me felt ignored? This subtle shift moves you from powerlessness to empowerment. It invites healing. It invites choice. This isn't about becoming emotionless. It's about becoming grounded. Like a tree whose roots run so deep, no wind can topple it. You don't stop feeling. You simply stop being ruled by those feelings. The reward? A mind that ages gracefully. A heart that remains open, no matter how many winters it has seen. A life that becomes not just bearable, but beautifully yours. And the truth is, it's never too late. You can begin this work at any age. The wisdom you've earned from a lifetime of living is your greatest ally. You've seen enough to know what matters. Now it's time to reclaim your energy, your peace, your power, not by changing the world, but by changing how you meet it. And it begins with a single shift. Stop reacting. Start observing. Then slowly, almost without trying, the world starts to change with you. What if I told you that the world outside of you is not the cause of your suffering but merely the reflection of it? It's a difficult truth to accept, especially when we've been taught for decades that our happiness, peace, and even self-worth are dependent on what happens around us, on how people treat us, on the stability of our finances, or whether life unfolds the way we imagined. But the more you study both ancient wisdom and modern science, the more a profound reality begins to emerge. The world does not disturb you. It simply reveals you. Carl Jung spoke of the shadow, the hidden parts of our psyche that we push down, suppress, deny. He believed that what irritates us most in others is a signal, not a sentence. It's the part of ourselves we haven't yet reconciled. Today, neuroscience gives us new language for this old truth. Functional MRI scans show that emotional triggers activate the amygdala, the brain's fear and threat center. But what's striking is that the same events, say, someone ignoring you or raising their voice, can trigger wildly different responses depending on how the brain has been conditioned over time. In other words, it's not the external event that matters most, but the internal filter through which it passes. Let's make this real. Imagine you're at a family gathering. Your son-in-law makes a passive-aggressive joke about your memory. One version of you might feel disrespected, wounded, angry. Another version might smile with awareness, knowing the comment says more about his insecurity than your mind. Same situation, different outcome. Why? Because perception shapes experience. And perception is something you can train. A groundbreaking study from the University of Wisconsin showed that long-term practitioners of mindfulness meditation, people in their 60s, 70s, and even 80s, had significantly lower emotional reactivity and higher resilience to stress. Their brains, when scanned, showed greater activity in regions linked to conscious awareness and emotional regulation. That's not abstract philosophy. That's your brain changing in real time based on the thoughts and practices you cultivate. This means you are never too old to evolve. You are not stuck with the same reactions you've always had. And you are not doomed to suffer at the hands of every frustrating situation or careless word. The path to peace is not paved by changing the world. It is walked by changing your relationship to the world. Begin by noticing what triggers you. When a friend forgets to return your call, when a stranger cuts in line, when a relative disagrees sharply with your beliefs, pause and ask, what does this touch inside me? What old story or unhealed place is being revealed? This is not about blame or shame. It's about illumination. Just like a doctor uses symptoms to diagnose hidden illness, you can use emotional reactions to discover the parts of you that are still asking for attention. The world is your mirror, not your enemy. And once you understand this, you step into a different kind of power, the quiet kind. The kind that doesn't need to shout or prove anything. The kind that makes you unshakable, not because nothing happens, but because you've stopped giving away your peace to everything that does. So when the next wave of emotion rises, don't run. Don't blame. Don't react. Instead, observe, name it, feel it, then meet it with the wisdom you've earned from a lifetime of living. Every moment is a chance to reclaim yourself, one perception at a time. Most people spend their lives gripping the steering wheel of control so tightly that they never realize the wheel was never connected to the road in the first place. We are taught from childhood that if we just try hard enough, plan carefully enough, please enough people, or avoid enough mistakes, we can control what happens to us. But as the years go by and life unfolds with its unexpected turns, illnesses, job losses, relationship disappointments, even moments of profound loneliness, we begin to feel the weight of a truth we were never told. Control, as we imagined it, is an illusion. And yet, this is not a message of despair. In fact, it's quite the opposite. The freedom that comes from letting go of false control is one of the most liberating experiences a person can have. Carl Jung often pointed out that suffering intensifies when we resist what is. The more we fight reality, the more power we give it over us. Modern psychology backs this up. A study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that individuals who display a high need for control are more likely to suffer from anxiety and chronic stress, especially as they age and face inevitable changes. The more tightly we hold on to outcomes, the more fragile our peace becomes. Consider this example. You prepare for a family gathering, hoping it will bring everyone closer. But someone arrives late, another is in a bad mood, and suddenly your hope for harmony feels shattered. What happened? Expectations met reality, and reality didn't behave. But here's the shift: what if your peace didn't depend on everyone else showing up a certain way? What if your calm came from within and not from the outcome? Neuroscience shows us that the brain's default mode network, which governs self-referential thinking and rumination, becomes overactive when we obsess over outcomes and control. But mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, tested across age groups including seniors, reduces this brain activity and strengthens the prefrontal cortex, allowing us to respond with clarity instead of panic. That's not just theory, it's neural remodeling. Even in your 70s or 80s, you can actually train your brain to stop chasing control. So what does this look like in everyday life? When your adult child doesn't take your advice, when your body doesn't move like it used to, when the economy dips again or the news headlines stir fear, pause and remind yourself, I cannot control this, but I can control how I meet it. That single sentence is a doorway. Choose to shift from control to curiosity. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is this teaching me about how I see the world? This is where philosophy meets practicality. The Stoics, long before brain scans or therapy, taught that true power lies in mastering our response, not the events themselves. They didn't say life would be easy. They said life would be unpredictable. And yet they believed we could still find joy and meaning by aligning ourselves with what is, not what we wish it to be. To practice this, start small. Let a moment pass without correcting it. Let someone have their opinion without trying to fix it. Let a plan change without feeling defeated. These are not passive acts. They are powerful choices. Over time, they build an inner life that is stable, spacious, and strong. The world may swirl, but you stand rooted. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means giving up the illusion that your happiness depends on the world obeying your script. And once you release that script, life begins to surprise you. Often, what you once tried so hard to control starts to flow toward you freely, not because you forced it, but because you stopped pushing it away. So breathe, relax your grip, and remember this. The more you let go of what you cannot control, the more power you find in what you can. That is not surrender. That is wisdom. And it is never too late to live by it. To step into the state of being truly untouchable is not about building a wall around your heart or pretending that nothing bothers you. It is about cultivating a deeper awareness, one that sees clearly without reacting blindly. It begins with a quiet, revolutionary realization. You are not reacting to life itself, but to your mind's interpretation of life. This simple truth, though easy to dismiss, holds immense power. Carl Jung often spoke of the unconscious mind as the true director of our lives, a hidden force that shapes our perceptions and reactions unless we bring it into the light of awareness. Neuroscience now echoes this wisdom. In studies conducted at UCLA and MIT, researchers found that emotional responses are driven by learned neural pathways. The more often you react a certain way, say, frustration when someone disagrees with you, the stronger that response becomes. It's not just a habit. It's a physical groove in your brain. But here's the miracle. Those grooves are not permanent. Through intentional practice, especially mindfulness and cognitive reframing, you can reshape them even in later life. Your brain remains plastic, able to rewire itself in response to new patterns of thought and behavior. So how do we begin to form these new patterns? It starts with observation. Imagine a moment of irritation, like when someone cuts in line at the post office or dismisses your opinion during a conversation. Instead of reacting out of habit, simply pause. Take a breath. Ask yourself, what emotion is rising right now? What story is my mind attaching to this moment? You might notice a feeling of disrespect, or perhaps an old belief that your voice doesn't matter. This act of noticing shifts you from being a prisoner of your emotions to being the observer. And the observer holds the power. Think of it like standing on a balcony, watching the traffic below. You no longer feel the urge to chase every car. You simply see them come and go. That's the essence of emotional mastery, not suppression, but perspective. This is not abstract philosophy. In a 2020 study published in the Journal of Aging and Mental Health, older adults who practiced mindfulness-based stress reduction showed significant improvements in emotional regulation, cognitive flexibility, and even physical resilience. Their blood pressure decreased. Their sleep improved. Their relationships deepened. This is living proof that awareness heals. Jung called this process making the unconscious conscious. In practical terms, it means tracing every emotional reaction to its root. Why does criticism hurt so much? Why does silence feel like rejection? These are not weaknesses. They are invitations. Each one points to a part of you still seeking attention, understanding, or compassion. And once you recognize that, the healing begins. One helpful practice is to write down your emotional triggers and the stories they awaken. For example, if you feel dismissed in a conversation, ask yourself, is this the first time I felt this way? Or does it echo something older? This kind of inquiry doesn't require years of therapy. It requires courage and curiosity. Over time, you'll find that situations which once disturbed you no longer have the same power. It's not that the world has become kinder. It's that you have become stronger. Stronger not in force, but in clarity. Stronger not by winning arguments, but by no longer needing to. The beauty of this work is that it accumulates. Like drops filling a well, every moment of awareness deepens your center. And from that center, you begin to move differently through life. You listen without defensiveness. You speak without needing validation. You let people be who they are, and you allow yourself to be at peace regardless. This is not passivity. This is conscious presence. The world will still be the world. People will still be people. But you will no longer be at their mercy. So the next time a wave of emotion rises, meet it like an old friend, not an enemy. Let it show you where you're still growing. Let it pass through you without pulling you under. And in that space of stillness, you will find the power you've been searching for all along. The power not to control the world, but to stop letting it control you. That, my friend, is the beginning of true freedom. The moment you stop letting the world pull your strings, you begin to experience life as something entirely different, not a battlefield, not a burden, but a dance you are finally leading. This shift doesn't come from age alone. It comes from presence, from conscious living, and from mastering one simple yet life-changing skill: choosing awareness over reaction in every moment. At this stage in life, many people believe they are too set in their ways to change. But neuroscience paints a very different picture. Studies from the University of California show that neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself, remains active well into our 70s and even 80s. In fact, the act of engaging in new mental habits, such as observing rather than reacting, can create new neural pathways that strengthen over time. It means that no matter how many years you've lived with reactivity, it's never too late to begin cultivating calm. Let me offer a simple but powerful image. Imagine you're standing on the shore of a vast lake. Someone throws a stone into the water. It's a rude comment, a piece of bad news, a forgotten invitation. The old habit would be to dive in after that stone, splash around in emotion, and lose yourself in the waves. But now, with awareness, you simply watch the ripples. You feel them, you breathe, but you remain on the shore. This isn't withdrawal from life. It's engagement from a place of wisdom. Carl Jung once wrote that wholeness is not achieved by cutting off parts of ourselves, but by integration, by fully facing and understanding them. In practical terms, this means giving attention to the moments that trigger you, not to fight them but to learn from them. Each emotional surge is a message, a mirror, a signal pointing you inward. When you learn to respond with curiosity instead of control, you shift from being a puppet to being the hand that holds the strings. And the world begins to respond to you differently. People sense when they cannot provoke you. Challenges lose their grip. Fear fades. Even your physical health improves. In a 2019 study published in Psychosomatic Medicine, researchers found that individuals who practiced emotional regulation through mindfulness showed significant reductions in blood pressure, heart rate variability, and inflammation markers. That's the body responding to peace the same way it responds to medicine. And yet, the beauty of this practice is that it's always available. Right now, in this very moment, you can become the observer. You can notice your breath. You can feel the chair beneath you. You can allow your thoughts to pass like clouds across the sky, without needing to chase or judge them. This is not passive. It is active awareness. And the more you practice, the more natural it becomes. Life will still present its storms. People will still forget your birthday, misunderstand your intentions, or let you down. But you will no longer take it personally. You will no longer give those events the power to define you. And that is where your power begins. Not in becoming invulnerable, but in becoming inwardly stable. So I invite you, in the quiet moments of your day, to practice this presence. When you feel annoyed, pause and breathe. When you feel dismissed, put your hand on your heart and remind yourself that your worth is not up for debate. When life surprises you with a twist, smile gently and say, "Ah, here is my opportunity to remain steady." These small acts are not trivial. They are spiritual strength training. They create a life where you respond instead of react, where you observe instead of absorb, and where you lead from within instead of chasing control outside. And that, my friend, is how the untouchable mind is not just imagined, but lived. Every day, one breath at a time,